It feels like everywhere you turn, you are reading something doom and gloom about Toronto condos in the media. Take these for example. Oversupplied and undersold, Toronto's condo market challenges realtors. That's from Real Estate Magazine. Better Dwelling says Toronto condo prices just had one of the worst months on record. And the Star recently reported that Toronto new condo sales plummet in September as market is holding its breath ahead of rate cuts. And that's why a tweet that I put out last week saying that Toronto condo activity is really starting to ramp up had some people a little bit surprised. I'm going to jump into that tweet in this video, as well as some stats going over sales numbers, active listings numbers, what is happening with months inventories, and have condo prices started to move in any meaningful way. Hey everybody, and welcome back to the channel. It's me, Rob Marsiglio, sales representative with Keller Williams Referred Urban Realty. As I said off the top, this week is going to be all about condos. If you enjoyed these deep dives into numbers, into real estate numbers and stats right across the GTA, please consider subscribing to the channel, liking this video, so I can reach more people just like you. So here's the tweet that I put out on the evening of Sunday, the 17th of November. It says the Toronto condo market saw the 30-day rate of sales jump 7% week over week. It's back to levels that we saw at the end of June. People saw this tweet and assumed that the market is roaring back, maybe assuming that prices are ripping higher. And today we're going to dive into the charts and numbers to show you exactly what is going on. Starting with this one, which is my months of inventory update that I share every single Monday over on X to keep you up to date as to what is happening with real estate inventory right across the Greater Toronto Area. This dotted blue line is the Toronto condo market. And you can see that of all of these territories, it's really the only one that had this big significant uptick. At least even going back to the beginning of October, we've started to see the 30-day rate of sales really climbing through October and into the early parts of November. And just to declutter things, I got rid of the other markets here to show you a couple important call outs. So this past Monday, the 30-day rate of sales was 1,302. That means we saw 1,302 Toronto condos sales over the previous 30 days. It's the same as what we saw in late June of 2024. So we're getting back to kind of right heading into the summer market. You can see there's a big downtrend from the peak, a little bit of a bump in June, and then, all the way down to the beginning of September. And now this kind of most recent resurgence in sales, still a little bit shy of the peak that we saw in 2024, which happened back in mid to end of April, where we saw 1,475 sales in a 30-day stretch in the Toronto condo market, but well up from what we saw back in November of 2023. A definite uptrend in sales through October, through November, something that we're maybe not so used to seeing in the Toronto condo market. We're typically used to seeing things quiet down after Thanksgiving, definitely in the middle of November through, December, January will always be slow, but you expect to start to see things slow down in November, just not the case this year. On the active inventory side, we're starting to see things drag a little bit, really active inventory peaked back in July, late July. Saw another little bump up to another peak back in September. And again, this kind of slow drag trend downwards where we sit at, as of Monday, there was 6,600 active Toronto condo listings. Again, comparing it back to last year at the same time frame, there were 5,700 active listings then. When you divide that active listings number by the 30-day rate of sales, you're given months of inventory. Again, hypothetically, how long would it take to sell out of inventory in any specific market class? So for Toronto condos, as of Monday, the 18th, we're sitting at 5.1 months of inventory. That's about a month down, not quite a month, but we've shaved almost a month off since the end of October as per my Monday readings. And from last year, you can see that we were about 1.3 months of inventory shy of where we were in November 2023. Coincidentally, this past week represents 1 year since condo months of inventory peaked in 2023. That was at that 6.37 number before things started to slow down with a bit of a spike in early January and then really crashing off through into the kind of early spring market, that February market, before things really ramp back up to a new peak in early September. While it's not the tightest that the condo market has been all year, things are definitely getting tighter and trending downwards. I want to now look back historically using Treb MarketWatch data. Is what we're seeing right now kind of different or out of the norm compared to a normal year, both in terms of those sales numbers that we looked at, in terms of active inventory, and in terms of months of inventory? How do we expect the Toronto condo market specifically to be acting throughout the year? And let's compare 2024 to those numbers. Starting with this chart here, reported sales, 2024 is this orange line. How have things actually trended? You can see that they roughly follow trend for the average and median year. This is just Toronto condos again. Used to seeing a bit of a downswing in sales activity from October to November, but we have seen, going back to 2011, 2 or 3 other times where sales have kind of held relatively steady from October to November or inched up just a little bit. So it's not too unusual to see sales pick up a little bit from October to November. What is unusual is the fact that November looks like it's shaping up to be, the third or fourth busiest condo sales month at Toronto condos specifically this year. Usually, you're seeing more sales happen in July, June, May, April, March, all of the above, right? Maybe even February would usually have more sales than November, but not so much this year. It's really been a late market, not kind of like we saw in 2020 where the pandemic really suppressed things in the first half and then went crazy in the second half, but there just wasn't a ton of interest early on, and we're kind of seeing interest return on the condo side a little bit more later in the year. So reported sales numbers, nothing too out of the norm, maybe not so used to seeing that uptick in November sales, but we have seen that happen 2 or 3 times going back to 2011. So it's not something novel that sales are projected to pick up. And who knows, these projections could be off and we could come in slightly lower than we saw in October. But bottom line, I think things will be pretty flat from October to these November numbers when it comes to Toronto condos. In terms of active inventory, this is where you see that there really is still a surplus of inventory out there on the market. We've been above trend all year round in terms of comparing to average and median monthly active listings on the Toronto condo side. The gap really has only widened right through to June. Maybe it's tightened up a little bit, but still you can see that November we were projected to have about 5,900 active listings. We're used to seeing that number come in somewhere closer to around 4,000 active listings. Even in October when we were creeping up to, it was about 6,600 active listings over here. That's still a good, 2,000 active listings more than what we're used to seeing in October in a normal year. So sales numbers are lagging our historical trend, whereas active inventory is still higher than what we would expect to see at this time of year, although they have come off slightly from those kind of record peaks that we saw back in September. And once again, that all translates into months of inventory. You can see that MOI, or months of inventory, peaked in September. We are used to seeing months of inventory peak in September in the condo market. It's just that we don't see this much of a drastic uptick, or we don't see nearly, this is around 7, just over 7 months of inventory as per Chubb Market Watch back in September. And it's come all the way back down to 4.44 is what we're projecting based on my sales projections, based on my active listings projections. Bottom line, much smaller number than what we saw in September, and trending to be down from what we saw in October. Probably a bit more of a downtrend than you're used to seeing. The average and the median MOI, it's a, slightly up when you're talking about the median numbers and slightly down when you're talking about the average numbers. So all in all, you wouldn't expect to see months of inventory move too much from October to November before falling off into December because of all these listings coming off of the market and then spiking in January as people bring listings back to market prior to buyers actually getting out there and buying that product. While I feel like tracking market activity is the most important thing, everybody just wants to know about prices. What is happening with prices? So has this uptick in activity translated into price movement in a positive direction or a negative direction? Are we seeing some more price discovery as a result of this kind of relative increase in sales? We'll first try to answer that question based on how things have moved this year. So this orange dotted line is our weighted median price. It's a 4-week weighted moving median price. You can see that prices in condos peaked out sometime in April, around mid-April, before steadily falling off and really hitting their low for the year back in late August, early September. In that time, as sales have started to increase, you can see that this black dotted line is our 4-week moving average for sales numbers. Prices have not moved so much. This represents a bit of an incomplete data set. This is slow to report, so I'll try to reshare this post over on Twitter or X later in the week to see how many more sales we see in week 3 of November. But again, this represents about a 1.7% increase in prices in the median sale price of a condo from our low point of the year until right now. So prices are up slightly in the short term, but nothing dramatic. And I'd say that, this is on the aggregate, unit to unit, prices have still held pretty flat, even in spite of this uptick in sales activity. Now looking at average prices from Chubb Market Watch for all Toronto condo types, you can see that August saw average prices fall off the most for an uptick into September, a slightly smaller uptick into October, and then November we're thinking, based on that previous chart I just shared, things should be pretty flat from here. And you can see that we're back to about sitting where we are right now, kind of early to mid 2021 prices still. So not seeing that massive fall off back to 2019, 2020 prices in Toronto condos just yet, but still well shy of the peak that we saw in early 2022. The last way I want to look at prices is here, looking at the benchmark price, and this tells a bit of a different story. You can see that prices declined from September to October slightly. The benchmark price for this is apartment in Toronto that Treb uses, slightly different metric than I'm showing before, but anyways, to paint a little bit of an illustration, the price went down. It's somewhere in the $670,000 range. That's the benchmark price for a condo. Again, similar level. We're back to around mid 2021 in terms of benchmark prices, well shy of the peak that we saw in early 2022, but not back down that level to, early 2021 prices and prior. I hope these charts have helped paint a bit of a clearer picture as to what is happening in the Toronto condo market right now. Yes, we are seeing activity pick up a little bit. The pace of sales did increase week over week by 7%, like I said, but the Toronto condo market doesn't behave in the exact same way as the freehold market. We're not used to seeing as big of a fall off in sales from October to November through to December. So these sales totals, not really indicative. It's maybe a bit of a nothing burger. And then prices have definitely not responded whatsoever. As we see sales activity increase, I think that's when you'll see some more definite price movement. Whether sales increase because sellers are happy with the prices they're getting, or whether they're finally accepting the prices that they're getting, is going to determine whether prices go up when volume returns or whether prices come down. Once again, if you did enjoy this video and you enjoy looking at market numbers, diving into GTA real estate stats with me, subscribe to the channel, like the video, share it with a friend who is interested in learning more about this stuff, whether that's for practical purposes, maybe they're going to be in the real estate market, or just for entertainment purposes. Any subscription, like, or share helps me reach more people just like you. Thank you so much for sticking with me right through to the end of another video. Till we speak again next time, please stay safe and cheers.